Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers. This afternoon I'm looking at a book, or a series of books in fact, from Jordan Publications with the family law imprint. These are practitioner works which I use in court, and they form part of a series of book reviews that I have written with my wife Elizabeth, and also an article which will be published at a future date in some of the journals concerning the value of these publications for us as practitioners. Now, I think we're all familiar with the family court practice and the autumn supplement, and I'm going to talk about those separately. What I'm looking at today initially is the new publication, which I hadn't seen before, called Red Book Plus, Family Court Essential Materials 2014 to 15, which has actually been written by Gregory Woodgate. This is the actual paperback book here. It's part of the Practice Plus series. There we go. It's A4 size, the spine, and then there's the back. It runs to about just over 200 pages. There's a huge amount of data in it. It's stuff that you can get at your fingertips very quickly. Benefits, information, going all the way back. There are shaded areas so you can find things quite quickly. I did use it in a particular case. I was actually using some legislation. You can see that particular act is mentioned. There's key legislation. Again, you've got the actual information on the sides there so you can find it. Then you've got practice notes. Again, very useful when I was doing a particular case involving some rules. Again, you've got quite a large amount of information. One thing that is useful is tips. Gives you an idea of what you've got to do. Now, I think this will be of great benefit not just to counsel but also to solicitors in the family practice jurisdiction. You've also got a lot of quite useful flow charts. Let me show that one there. And then again showing the way in which this is a contested application under the which one is it? It's Talata, yeah, Trusts of Land and Appointment of Trustees Act. In fact, it's not called Talata, but I call it Talata. And in fact, it shows how you run the thing through. You've also got quite important information. This is first appointment for an FDR and how you deal with some of the problems, and points about bundles, for instance. There are websites listed. There's a lot of bundles and preliminary documents and all the other stuff that you have. And at the front, there's the actual front piece there. Then you've got a little bit of advertising. I always must mention that. Bit of advertising on the front inside sheet. And a little bit at the back as well to link in with the 2014 practice. Here's the foreword from His Honour Judge Anthony Cleary, who is the editor basically of Family Court Practice, but more about that in a different review. Then you've got, the foreword is very important, and then you've got Gregory Woodgate, who is the family law publisher itself. So he's actually produced it, and the scope of the work, the lawyers have stated 1st of October 2014. That's actually what they were aiming to do. So it came out towards the end of last year. I'm recording this in March 2015. This is the contents section, so you've got some idea. There are lots of points here, sort of aid memoir points, which are extremely helpful when you're trying to prepare a case. You can see the structure there with the various pages, and then you go straight into practice notes, excuse me, and flow charts, etc. Right, there we go. That is the what's called the Red Book Plus. New innovation for family law practitioners from family law. I think a very useful one too. This is what we say about it. If you're a family lawyer grappling with the complexities of the new family court, you'll almost certainly, without doubt, have a copy of the Family Court Practice, which is the Red Book, which is, as you know, comes from Family Law imprint of Jordan Publishing. Indispensable and authoritative as it is, these very attributes are what makes it necessarily very weighty, and that's the practice book, which is why we've got something like this, which will assist you, I think. Help is at hand, therefore, with the companion volume Red Book Plus, which is more than likely the answer to many a practitioner's prayer. It's succinct, practical, easy to use, as I've shown you, and so much more portable because it provides, as the subtitle indicates, essential materials for the family court. Now, if you want something detailed, which I did actually need, I had to go to the court practice itself, but I have actually used that too, just to try and find things quite quickly, especially when I was actually in court. Take the practice notes, for instance, in the Red Book Plus itself, and the flowcharts, which are in part 1. There are detailed contents, by the way, as I mentioned, right at the front. Both from Jordan Online Practice Plus service is where this actually comes from, and this is actually mentioned there at the front. So it's very much part of the overall service that they are giving. The practice notes that are included provide reminders of the essentials of a case, the main issues and necessary documents, when and how they should be served, and typically a series of bullet-pointed tips, which I think I've indicated, for expediting the progress of a case. Most importantly, you are cross-referred to other family law resources whenever appropriate. And the flowcharts, I showed you one from Tolata, which accompany the practice notes, indicate in diagrammatic form the stages of a typical case. In other words, what to do and when to do it in a logical sequence. These provide a visual overview of the relevant procedures and as such can be as useful for the client to have a look at as they are for the practitioner who wants to maintain organised control of the management of a case, because you know what it can be like, it can sort of run away from you if you're not too careful. Part 2 covers key legislation, and in part 2 leading cases are listed alphabetically. Part 4, consisting of the 2014 to 15 tables, offers especially handy ammunition for sorting out financial entanglements, universal credit, which has just come in, and income support, for example. And there is a retail price index, consumer price index and house price index right at the back of the paperback. All this information, placed readily to hand, functions almost like a ready reckoner, as one busy barrister put it. Certainly this section alone could save you a lot of time doing laborious research or calculations. Indeed, the whole volume, in handy paperback form, helps save time in innumerable ways with its clear and concise step-by-step guidance and frequent cross-references to the Red Book, that's the practice book, all of which can help you avoid the most common pitfalls you are likely to encounter in everyday practice. So for practitioners in the family court, we think this is a work of reference which you should really acquire. And as I've indicated, the law is cited as at the 1st of October 2014. I'll just remind you again of what it is. That's the back, which just tells you a little bit about it. Spine, and then there's the front. Then if we go from the back, you've got the ad at the back in the inside cover, but you've then got, these are the interest rates, for instance. Not that that's relevant just at the moment, because it's 0.5 all the way through, going back rather a long way. Then you've got house price indexes, I mentioned, and all of that stuff. Then you've got the tables in part 4, and then obviously part 3 looks specifically at, I'll just get there in a second. Part 3 looks at the leading cases there, and then part 2 key legislation, and then part 1 you're into the main practice notes and flowcharts. And again, it's structured quite nicely at the front in the contents section because there is no index at the back. Mind you, you wouldn't be expecting an index with this because of the main points. Can I just, the main points which are contained in it, can I just say that you better be a bit careful with the fees, because what is listed here are current fee levels as at October last year, 2014, and I have a feeling that they're going to change again. I do like the tips section, which I think is extremely helpful. I'm very pleased with this Red Book Plus. It's extremely helpful addition to our practice in the family court, and obviously with the changes that took place just nearly a year ago, we're now looking at how things are working at the moment, and of course this sort of publication is a great additional aid for us. So thank you to all concerned for both this book, for the supplement to the main red book as well. I'm most grateful to all the people who've been involved in this, and to the Family Law imprint at Jordan's. Thank you to all. Bye bye.